welcome back. I'm so happy you can be here to spend some time with me today. As you can tell, we're going to be creating this very fun and festive greeting card. Now, I love the summer holidays, and we are a fiercely patriotic family. Tech Hubby was even born on the 4th of July. You can't get much more patriotic than that. This year, though, we have even more reason to celebrate the good old USA. My youngest son, Jonathan, graduated from university just a couple weeks ago, and he was commissioned second lieutenant in the United States Army. He's here alongside his beautiful fiancee Lexi, and we're so very proud of them, and we cannot wait to see what their future holds. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and create this holiday greeting card. Here's my Slimline card base. This is 4x9. That's pretty standard for a Slimline. I finished the inside already with the coordinating pattern paper so it will match the front of the card, and I can come back in later and add a portion for a sentiment to be added, but this is perfect so we can begin layering on all the elements for the front. So I'm going to start with this very pretty decorative edge Slimline die. Now you can get these Slimline dies pretty much anywhere now. Pretty much all the manufacturers make them, and I recommend that you check out Gina Marie or Whimsy Stamps. They both have a really great selection and good prices, and I think very good customer service. So you might want to check there if you're looking to get some Slimline dies to work with for your cards. So this is going to act as a base, and this is kind of flipped of how what I would normally do is add the cardstock as a solid border, but instead we're using that as a decorative edge, and I'm just going to top it with this next layer. And so this is just plain white cardstock, and this is going to act as a border when I have the layers added to it. But what I wanted to show you is that I did add a generous amount of double-sided foam tape because I'm going to pop this layer up, and that's going to begin building our dimension. So you can see now that decorative edge really pops and looks amazing, and then this is going to act as another border. So I'm going to inset the next size down in that nested stitched edge rectangle die for my Slimline cards, and that's just going to go right in the middle. I did purposefully cut this paper so that I would have a solid row of stars to make sure that it looked nice and finished. And this paper comes from Authentique, and it has a beautiful vintagey vibe to it. Now here is the companion paper from that collection, and I'm going to add that. I did go ahead and finish that edge as well with that solid cardstock so that it would act as a barrier between those two busy patterns. I'm just going to line that right up with the first layer of pattern paper so that I can utilize that border that is already there. So my card, and I'm going to add all the other layers on top of it. So what I wanted to do is show you first the dies that I'm going to use for my banner section. So this is from Gina Marie Designs, and it is more of a pennant than a banner, but it does have that nice stitched edge, and they are nesting, so there's quite a few of them. I was able to choose 2 so that I could layer them and get a very nice border. And then I'm also going to use my Whimsy Stamps letters, and I really enjoy using these a lot so I can add sentiments. They are compact, really about 1.25 inches at their widest part, but they do have a thick, generous portion where the letters are, so you'll have no trouble getting adhesives, or like for my card here, I'm gonna use some spacers, so you want to make sure that there's plenty of room to get those added. So this would be perfect for just about any occasion. I think I could recreate this card with Christmas pattern and use the word joy instead of USA, and it would be perfect. So very flexible, can have a lot of options with this one. I'm also going to use my Sizzix Nesting Stars. This one, it does not have a stitched edge, but I'm generally cutting things like glitter paper, so that's fine. I do wish I had another set that would fill in the gap between these two, but I've made it work for now, and so maybe I'll start looking for a filler set. But this is perfect because I can add these little touches of glitter, and it acts as a little sparkle to finish off my card. So what I'm going to do is show you how I'm building up my banner shape. And so I've already finished this one piece, and I want to start in the middle because this will help to keep everything evenly balanced. And obviously we're going to put that USA right in the middle and almost down to the bottom of that pattern paper. That looks about right to me. I want to make sure I get this middle piece straight up and down. I'm just going to add my next piece in, and I'm just going to put that at a bit of an angle because I want it to look like a nice hanging banner. And so you would get that nice sweeping shape going across. So I'm going to go ahead and build this next one for you, and I'll show you what I did in the back. So the top portion is added with just plain double-sided adhesive tape. I want it to be flat to the card base because I want to add all of my little stars going across, and that is going to give me the best amount of surface space to get those attached. And then I put my foam tabs here on the bottom. So these are my thin 3D foam squares. I get these from Really Reasonable Ribbon, and I am obsessed with them. I am probably the biggest user of these that exists because they are very thin, but they're still dimensional. So you're going to be able to get a lot of detail without adding a lot of bulk. And so they come in a couple different sizes. I like them both. And I even cut them in half sometimes so that I can work them around the fine details like I did for my letters today. But these are perfect, and you should get some from Really Reasonable Ribbon, and I know you're going to love using them. So for my banner shapes, I knew I wanted my letters to be that beautiful navy like the cardstock in the background, so I chose the red and the white for the banner. So I cut these out, and then I measured them on my guillotine cutter very carefully and cut them. So my first piece has a little bit of border going around, and that is a nice way to add the detail. So here is my last banner section, and I still have that at the bit of an angle. And then my next size down I cut with the white cardstock. Same thing here as well, and I put my foam spacer on the bottom but not on the top. So I'll just go ahead and center that right here in the middle. I love that stitched edge detail. I think it really adds a lot of interest to the top of my card. So here is my U, and like I said, I cut my foam tabs just a little so that I could work them around, and that will pop them up even more, give them a little bit of a shadow. Here is the U, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball that to make sure it would be lined up if they were all straight. It's less noticeable when they're curved like that, but you do want to try to get it as close as you can. Okay, so here is the banner portion of the card done, and next detail I want to add is the stars so that they can be kind of integrated underneath the flower arrangements when we add those. So I cut out with my Sizzix stars a combination of red, white, silver, and blue. So I want to kind of mix them up so they're not all matchy-matchy. And I think I'm going to add some to the card base just flat, and then a couple of them I'll probably put up on a spacer, and that will be a little bit more interesting to look at. So I think I want to start just kind of blocking them in so that I know I've got my spacing how I want it. And I like these white ones on the corner, and then maybe I'll bring in the red and silver. And then because I only have two blue ones, I think I'm just going to go ahead and use those over where the banner portions overlap, and I can probably put those on with my double-sided adhesive, and that would be a good place to add that dimension. So go ahead and continue that pattern a little, and then I think it will be more interesting even if I added these with a little bit of a wonky line so they're not all straight going across. And then here's my last one, so I'll have a blue one here and then another white one. Gonna run out of room. I think maybe I'll move those outside ones out even a little bit further, and then another red and silver. So I'm gonna go ahead and start adding these. I think because they're glittery, my best bet would be to add them with hot glue, because even though the first layer will be right on that paper, the next one following along are going to be added to the glittery cardstock. So you just want to be a little careful to make sure that you are giving that enough adhesive to get down into that texture. So I'll start with this one and start adding them here. Now the hot glue is going to give them a little bit of dimension too, so that'll be a little bit more interesting, I think. And I'll just add a little so that it doesn't squeeze out the side. Okay, so here is my first sequence of those white, red, and silver, and I'm going to leave this blue one until last so that I want to make sure that I can pop that up on my spacer. So I'm going to move to the next portion of the banner and do that one. So I started high and then I went down, and then this will be in the middle. So maybe I'll start down on this one and go high and see if that looks good. I just didn't want them to be all straight and even going across. So here's the low, and then the red. I wish I had navy glitter cardstock. I've not actually seen that, but I think if you looked maybe at the Joann's open stock section, you might find it there. But I think that solid blue is going to work just fine. So my next one down is silver, and then my next blue one will be here. So I'll switch back to the white one, and then red. And the last one in the row will be silver. So you can see how I made sure to leave this banner section flat. There would be plenty of space to get all those little stars adhered. So I'm going to come back in now and add my foam tabs to the blue stars so they'll be popped up. So that's it for my stars on the top of my banner. The next thing I want to bring in are my flowers. And so I have prepared one of the arrangements that's going to go on the side here, just to show you how the balance is going to work. So what I wanted to do is show you how I assembled this arrangement. So I've got all my little pieces here. Typically when I make arrangements, I do like to have a flourish of leaves so that it has more of an organic shape. But because I am working in a smaller space here, I decided to go ahead and cut the single rose leaves out and then attach them together. So I've got one large and one medium, and I'll have one of those for each side. And then I've also cut like a skeleton leaf out of a mirror cardstock, and you will notice that I have specific sides here. So one has the smaller one and the larger one on each side, and that is intentional. I really like the smaller leaves to go on the outside, so I've cut and attach them together in that way so that I would be able to get the same shape for my arrangement on the right hand side. So what I want to do is go ahead and tack these together. I'm just using more of that hot glue, and then I'm going to bring in my loopy twine bow, and I think it's most easier to control where the loops land if you fold it first. So I've got it pretty much folded back onto itself, and then I'll just add my hot glue right here on the bottom, and then go ahead and add that to this foliage stack. So here is the one that will be on the top. I'll do the same thing for the one on the bottom. Now for the flowers themselves, I'm using my Spellbinders Cinch and Go poinsettia. I know it's not a Christmas card, but I think these work really perfectly. They have a little dimension, and they're very interesting and layerable, and they are not super bulky, so I really like that. And then I went ahead and finished my larger flowers. That's going to be in the center with some of the stamens from Really Reasonable Ribbon. These are perfect to finish off your flowers, and you do not need to put those through all of the flowers, just the one that will be on the top, and that will help you to layer these up without adding a lot of bulk. For this side, I want to add them in the reverse order so that it has a more organic flow. So I'm going to put the white one on top, and I'm just going to go ahead and add my hot glue here, and then make sure that I cover the center of that flower hole with a petal from the top layer. Now to get a more rounded shape, you're going to have to add your next flower pretty much touching in the middle so that you can get that curve when you add your foliage. So I want this one right down here, still being careful to hide the center. So this will go right here on this side. I'm gonna go ahead and cover up those stars a little bit on the outside just to make sure that I've got the whole arrangement inside the shape of the card so that I don't have any fragile pieces hanging over. Okay, so what I want to do now is add my foliage. And I always make my flower arrangements off project like this because I want to make sure that I have everything spaced evenly, and be able to add it right where I want it. So I'll just go ahead and build this up here, and then I can add it as one solid embellishment to the top. So that looks pretty perfect. Now I'm going to add my bow, and this is just a navy wrinkle ribbon. I get this from Really Reasonable Ribbon as well. It's May Arts, and I grab the whole roll of these wrinkle ribbons because I go through so much. They are perfect for making a very compact, nice bow that you can add to the back of your flower arrangements. So they're kind of tucked in and layered, and I'm just using more of that hot glue. Be careful that you don't burn yourself if you do it like this. Then I'm going to hold it exactly where I want all of these loops to fall. That way it'll have a nicer shape when you add it to your card. If you find that your tails are a bit too long, this would be the time to go ahead and crop them. So this is going to be my embellishment for this side. I want to go ahead and add that, and then I will poof all these flowers back up. You see how they got flattened a little bit while I was working with them? So I want to make sure that they still have that nice dimension and detail. So you can just refold those very easily and get that shape back that you had. So that is perfect. Okay, so another thing you can do if you're using this twine is maybe come back and give it a little bit of a haircut, because it gets a little straggly sometimes when you're tying your loopy twine bows, and you want to make sure that that's a nice tidy arrangement and it isn't covering up your letters, or if you're making one with an image, you want to make sure to keep that nice and clean in the middle. So here is the arrangement for the left hand side, and we'll just add that now. Okay, so that's all for my card front. Now I did consider adding a couple of sequins, but I think with the sparkle from the stars, that is just about perfect, and it gives it a nice detail without being overwhelming. So here is my Patriotic USA greeting card, that slimline card. If you want to use this as a decorative element for the holiday season, I would think that you could easily just loop a string under here and bring it to the center and tie it. Then you could hang it like a little sign, and that would be a perfect way to incorporate that into your holiday decor. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure you give me a comment and a big old thumbs up. You can find links for our social media sites in the description below, and if you're not already, I would love for you to subscribe. And as always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.